How long is this going to take? There we
There
go.
we go. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Mel. Happy evening and good morning from me.
Yeah, good morning to our folks in Australia. It's so nice to be here with you.
Yeah, well, it's another week rolls on, and here we are talking about the world of women, work, leadership, and career. So, what do you want to talk about today, Mel?
Well, we're coming into December, so this becomes, I think, a time when people are winding down and reflecting on the year past and then also looking ahead. So I was thinking that we should talk about the word of the year. Can you tell us about
Mm,
that?
yeah, I stumbled across, in my reading on the weekend, and actually I put a little life hack into one of my newsletters a few weeks ago, which is because every week in my newsletters I share a whole bunch of links, interesting reading and what have you. And I said my life hack is I bookmark them all, and then I dedicate a couple of hours on the weekend to reading. Anyway, so I'm doing my reading, my bookmarked reading. And I came across dictionary.com's word of the year, and and it made me go, yeah, because it's allyship. And I thought that was really cool because of the work that we do together, Mel, and obviously the work I do for workplace diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I figured allyship, what a very, very cool word, and that let me just read the definition. So the allyship, which is a noun and for me a goal, the status or role of a person who advocates and actively works for the inclusion of a marginalised or politicised group in all areas of society, not as a member of that group, but in solidarity with its struggle and point of view and under its leadership. So I figured, what a really, really cool word. And after the events of the last 2 years, when we've seen such division and such hatred, but then also a whole bunch of togetherness, I figured that this is such a lovely word to help people understand, particularly when you've got privilege, particularly when you're in a position of power, to understand what could I do? This is a great word to get to know. So to be an ally is, well, it's super important to me. And I've got to say, I don't think you're an ally till someone from one of those marginalised or underrepresented groups calls you an ally. You can't self-appoint yourself as an ally. You can have a goal of being an ally. But anyway, I don't want to get too preachy or anything like that. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, so maybe we'll get into that sort of that discussion at another time or maybe on a
Mm.
podcast. But for today, maybe you could say a little bit more um, about allyship and privilege and how you bring this discussion up with clients in the workplace, because I know that this can make some people uncomfortable. So how do you introduce the concepts when you're working towards workplace equity with a client?
Good question, Mel. So, what I do, and it is for me, understanding about privilege is kind of one of the foundational pieces for leaders to work on when they start their diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. And the way I do that is I've got this great activity which is called Walk a Mile, and it can be done in person or virtually. I'll actually drop a link to the activity into the post, but essentially it's around explaining, because privilege, when you say to someone you have privilege, people get very excited and animated about it because it can be thought of as a pejorative term, and it's not. So I usually say I am privileged, and for me, my privilege is the stuff that I was born with, I did no work to get, and that gives me an advantage. The first one is very obvious, my white skin. So I was born into a white-skinned and into an Anglo-Celtic family, and I often tell the story of my upbringing in a regional town in Western Australia where a lot of my friends and schoolmates were Aboriginal, and I didn't learn until a little bit later, I was probably a young person, and that I got treated differently than my Aboriginal friends because I was white. I got treated better and had more advantage and was trusted more because I was white. Now, I didn't earn that, so that's privilege. So yeah, I use the walk a mile stuff, and I think it's a very, I have such great feedback from people who do this exercise, and they kind of go, right, so now I'm really aware that this is not someone having a crack at me because, I will, check your privilege, which is slightly pejorative, but it's that they can work out, okay, so this is my privilege, the stuff that I haven't earned. But then we go into, so what can I do about that? But awareness is everything. Being aware and educated and saying, well, okay, what does that mean? So what it means is having empathy and compassion for those folks who don't have the same level of privilege of me. And as an organisational leader, what does that mean for our systems, our processes, our workplace behaviours? And what would I need to do as an active ally and advocate for underrepresented people? And that's when we start to explore, what can I do? So that's how I start.
Yeah, so it makes sense that was their selected word of the year because it's become a lot more prominent in kind of day-to-day talk and language. And it's something that came up on a recent podcast episode that we released. So a recent episode of Lead to Soar, where we had our guest and a Career That Soars co-host Amal Youssef. Could you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Amal is, her own words, she's an African woman, she's black, and she immigrated to America. And so she has a layer upon layer upon layer of difference. And she has an amazing story. So please listen to the podcast to hear her story, because I won't do it justice. But she gives some great tips to those of us who want to be better allies, particularly to women of colour, however they want to identify in the workplace. And we talk specifically, one of the favourite bits of the podcast, I mean, there are just so many bits to love, is I said to her, I get, as a white woman, I've been given a lot of career advice obviously over the course of my career, including step up, be assertive, challenge the status quo, yada, yada, yada. How does that not serve a black woman or a woman of colour? So being really careful and considered and thoughtful about the career advice, because to put it bluntly, if a black woman behaves the same kind of, exhibits the same kind of assertive behaviours as I do, she's seen as the angry black woman. And there's a whole other layer of stuff that goes with that. So she's got some really good advice for leaders, for allies, and she's got advice for women of colour as well. So she's hugely knowledgeable, having been an entrepreneur, now working for Delta Airlines. So she's got just this wealth of experience in all sorts of different workplaces and geographies, but she understands being marginalised. So it's from literally the horse's mouth to hear what you can do to be a good ally.
Yep, it's a truly excellent episode, and you can find it, you can download it wherever you find podcasts by searching for Lead to Soar, and it's also available via your web browser at just leadtosoar.com.
Yep. Yep.
So we are, shortly after this, we're going to do another recording that's going to have Amal and our other A Career That Soars co-host, so I'm excited about that. And
me too.
We'll produce that as a podcast episode as well. And of course, if you're a member of A Career That Soars, you can join us live when we're recording that. So let's look ahead into the future a little bit. We're doing a lot of work to plan things for 2022 that we're excited about. And we've got a theme for January. Talk to us a little bit about what's coming up inside A Career That Soars.
So there's so much coming up. So I think that one of the most exciting things is the technology that we use for this platform, and it is going from strength to strength. Now, some of you have heard me talk before that when Susan Colantuno selected this platform, it was very much in line with all of our values. It is woman-owned, women-owned, woman-founded, CEOs are women. So very much around women in tech and supporting that. But the platform goes from strength to create a really great experience for women. And part of that is being able to create spaces. So we have a membership, obviously, and you join and you're part of a global network of women. But then we run courses, we run regular events, live courses, which you've talked about before, Mel. But every month we have a theme that we want to anchor our content in, so that every member can have gain at least one actionable insight for her career. So one thing, there'll be more than one, but she can take one thing away to do that month for her career. So, and I guess the other thing that I'm really excited about, Mel, is that we've got a whole bunch of members who are experts in their own right, experts in their particular area of expertise too. And I want to shout out to one of our regulars, who is Renata Bernardi, and Renata and I are going to talk about job hunting in January, and we're going to do that both in the platform and on the podcast, because she's got some really great practical tips for job hunting. And if you're like a whole bunch of other people that I know, you're probably thinking about, well, we know 40% of people are thinking about moving changing their career next year. The great resignation, reset, yada, yada, which we're talking about in our podcast next. But so we're going to have experts. Every month we have experts. We have interviews. Anyway, I'm super excited, because this is a membership that is purely and simply for ambitious career women who really want to get shit done for themselves, their careers, their salary, and frankly their lives. It's pure and simple. So I'm just super excited. I'm not very articulate this morning, because I am very excited about 2022, because we're getting sharper and sharper in our focus on what we deliver.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited too. So I guess I'll help us wrap up here. We're over 10 minutes, like we always do.
Always do, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to running several courses in 2022. So the first one I'll probably do is related to goal setting and habit formation. And with that, like we've talked about before, we do live courses. We do live cohort-based courses, which means you're not alone going through content. You're with a small group of other professional, ambitious women getting the support that you need. So the other big piece of that with the goal setting, I think, is accountability. So if that's something you're interested in, be on the lookout for when we post that. And then I'll also teach one of the Your Mantle of Leadership courses in 2022, which is, of course, a flagship course based on I'll call it our Bible in this group, which is No Ceiling, No Walls by Susan Colantuno.
Yeah.
So if you're new to Michelle and I, and you're joining us for the first time, you can learn a lot about our foundation and what we teach by going to listen to Susan Colantuno's TED Talk, which is titled The Career Advice You Probably Didn't Get. So check that out. The career advice you probably didn't get. It's super important for women to get the message in that talk. And yeah, if you're interested in joining us and joining one of the upcoming courses, you can access A Career That Soars at acareerthatsoars.com. And that's what I've got. Anything else, Michelle?
No, other than I've been madly posting links to everything that we're talking about in the the feed, and I'll loop back to good old LinkedIn, who don't let us do that, and put those links in for everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, everybody, and we hope to see you again soon next week.
Thanks, folks. Okay, see ya. Bye.